Welcome to the Body Love Revolution Summit, building a better relationship with your body. Today, I'm joined by Alison. Alison, welcome to our summit. I'm going to have you share with us how you help families and what your expertise is. Share away, friend.
Thank you so much for having me, Emma. So I run a business called The Incremental Shift, and I guide and help confused or overwhelmed parents of neurodiverse and twice exceptional children to become more intentional and more focused through an authentic, strengths-based dynamic where every member of the household feels heard, supported, and valued. And I do that because I grew up in a neurodiverse family, and I have a neurodiverse family of 4 boys with my husband, and we all have ADHD, ASD, and giftedness. So we're all a big mixed bag of fruit there. And it really highlighted to me when we were going through the process of diagnosis with my children, the lack of support for these families in terms of how this looks like for the parents at home. How do we incorporate, all of these things that we're learning from the specialists at home in a home environment when they're not here? So that's what led me to create the incremental shift.
And I love the name of also your membership, The Village. I find that it's so easy for me to remember and talk about with you, because that is exactly the whole premise. Raising children who aren't twice exceptional or have any other, I guess, traits that perhaps need a little bit more navigating. We know that having support helps us be better parents. And I love that saying because we've never done it before. We've never parented that person before. So your beautiful program, The Village, is great there too in supporting families. And sometimes we just need someone to bounce things off that is knowledgeable, has lived through it, and can share some strategies, because that's often, what we sometimes need. I'm trying this and I'm getting nowhere. How else can I do it?
100%. And I think also there's strategies that you get from, the psychologist or the OT and all of those other specialists that doesn't actually take into account like how you live right now. Like it's all kind of textbook stuff, which is valid, 100% valid. But the nitty gritty of how does that work when you have one child who thinks like this and who, has sensory preferences that are this, and then the other child is this and that. Like, how does it all mesh together? And how do I not lose my mind in the process? And I think that it is really important to have the community around you of like-minded people, because you feel heard, validated, content, like you're it's your people. Like they just support you, and there's no judgment. And like you said, in the village, we give strategies. We're there for, if you've had a shit day, we're there for that. If you've had a win, even if it's like something ridiculously small, it's still a win. So being
Yeah.
able to support the wins is so important.
Yeah, because we are quick to look at all the holes and the gaps, and we forget to do that. Go, well, this is actually working really well in our family. Great.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask you about self-care, boundaries, and emotional well-being so you don't lose yourself in the process. As a mother of 4, how do you practice this so you have got that self-care, your well-being is being nurtured as much as it can in this stage in life, and you don't lose yourself? Tell me.
Look, I started writing notes about these questions, and I was like, there's so much. Like there is so much in terms of self-care of when you have little people, like I'm talking preschool aged people. It is so hit and miss. And you steal the moments. The moments are never there. You just steal the moments. And that's just that stage of life. And I think when I was in it, Like, we all love hindsight, and we all, you know, wish we could tell our younger selves all of these things. But when you're in it, that's the feeling, is that it's unrelenting, it's exhausting, it's never ending, and it is. So being able to come from a place of just acceptance, it is what it is.
Yeah. Surrender.
Surrender. This
Mm.
is the time that you're in, and just surrender. And over time, you will find these little micro moments where you can enjoy a coffee or sit in peace for a few minutes, and they become your self-care. And being able to build on those, that a few minutes by, you know, at home with your little one turns into a few minutes outside when someone else is at home to look after them. And, you know, like, it just builds on it. I think another thing is, if you are neurodiverse, or if you become diagnosed early on in your parenting journey, you actually do lose yourself, because the person that you thought you were, you are no longer. Yes, aside from the fact that you are now a parent, so the person you were before, you are no longer. You then also have this both amazing and perhaps scary opportunity to rebuild yourself to whoever you want to be, which is a massive responsibility and opportunity, because you get to do it your way. Not only do you get to parent your way, but as you are being diagnosed and you are working out that all these things that you thought were, you know, things that were wrong, in inverted commas, wrong with you, they're actually you, and you can embrace them and, you know, share the self-compassion that you learn through that process, is such a gift. And I think that even that, you know, finding out about a neurodiversity is actually a form of self-care, because you do go from the micro shaming to acceptance and compassion and kindness, and then that then ripples out into, well, if I'm neurodivergent, my children probably are, so that compassion ripples out into their world as well. And before you can get to that point, though, is there needs to be a certain level of self-awareness. You've got to be aware of yourself. You've got to understand your own needs, your own emotions, you know, and in order to be able to move forward and work out who you are, and setting the boundaries and building on your emotional resilience and all of those things. So there is so much in that. And I didn't even answer your question, which was about navigating family dynamics. It all comes back to yourself, who you are, and what's important to you, and what you value, and where you want to be, and how you want to show up as a parent and a human in this one life that we get. Yeah.
It is, you touched on something there, which I think is if you've been diagnosed later in life with, and we know that a lot of people now are being diagnosed because the awareness is there, and you're getting, and those micro shaming, which was a great way to put it. You know, if you are the AD parent that is really disorganized, or some reason can't get your kids to school on time, or can't seem to, no matter how hard you try, just can't seem to manage that, and all of that goes with that, getting to know yourself and then putting other things in place, or having, like we said, that surrendering or that acceptance to it, really helps your children. Because when you are struggling, it can't not affect the family. And that's what it is too. And we just talked before we hit record, we were chatting about what is it to when someone is neurodiverse, and one of the things that you might be micro shaming yourself around, or very sensitive to, is even rejection. What was that, Alison, that you said about that? What did you say? Can you say it in your way?
Rejection sensitivity disorder, or dysphoria, which is basically you are so sensitive to rejection that it's paralyzing.
Yeah.
a certain level.
And if you have got that, if that is one of your, you have got this sensitivity around rejection, even parenting and being confident in your parenting, if you've got a partner that might have an opposing view how you've parented, or might have an opposing view around how you do things, or, you know, the classic mother or mother-in-law, that can be super challenging. So I would imagine then a whole cascade of things come off the back of that.
Yes,
That,
yes. Even I could give you an example, which was our children, when I was contemplating moving schools, my husband was like, it's not as bad as you're making it out. And he was not gaslighting me. He was just, this is not how he sees it.
yes,
And I had to really, it was the most agonizing decision I've made in a long, long time to move schools, because I knew what it meant for neurodivergent children to change schools. And
yeah,
we had already changed from moving from North Queensland down here, and that was epic enough. And I didn't want to do that again to them, but I knew that their needs were not being met at school. And I knew that because of my background in teaching and education and child development and ADHD, all of the things. My husband didn't have all of that knowledge. So of
yeah,
course he's going to go, I just don't see it the same way, Al. But being able to be confident in my reasonings to push
yeah,
forward was such a big thing, especially for someone who has rejection sensitivity disorder, which is part of ADHD.
yeah,
Not everyone has it, but it is a symptom, a trait. So being able to push forward on that, and you're right, having that trust and confidence in your inner self is so massive,
yeah, it is.
especially in parenting when you've got no idea what you're doing most of the time.
No, you don't. And it's not cookie cutter.
No.
Your individual there, circumstances are all different. So it is back to your point, getting to know yourself and being aware of yourself, shortcomings, the bits that you're really good at, but
Yeah.
also aware of things like when you have got, I mean, I'll use the word catastrophizing, because sometimes when you have a brain that thinks differently, it can feel a little bit, you can build things up. Not always, but sometimes you can, can't you?
Yeah.
And it's the fear of the rejection. It's a whole cascading. So then parenting little people and second guessing yourself, that's a lot. So getting to know
It's a
yourself.
big responsibility to have a child that you would literally die for,
Yeah.
but you've got no idea what you're doing. You've just got to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And
Self-trust.
yeah, which is huge. It's
It's
so
massive.
many layers to that when you're getting to know who you are as a
Yeah.
person, as a mother now.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, and even if you've just had a recent diagnosis, let's say as an adult, getting to know what it's identity, isn't it? A new identity as a mother, then new identity finally going, oh gosh, I am not broken, or I'm not dumb. My story is I'm dumb, but it's not. My brain just thinks
No,
different, and I'm not dumb. So you're taking on that new identity. It is worth, all personal development's worth it, but it's also particularly helpful if you have been diagnosed with one of the neurodiversities, because it helps you get to know yourself even more. And like you said, traits is a great way. Maybe I do have some of these traits, maybe I don't, but it's good to know yourself. Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
I did want to ask you to, the connection between understanding neurodiversity and fostering a greater self-compassion around your body acceptance and inner peace. Because I do feel, as a woman who, this whole summit is around body acceptance, building a better relationship with your body. Do you feel neurodiversity plays a part in our relationship with our body and our inner peace?
Yes. Speaking personally, I dopamine seek through food. So like I there's many ways to get dopamine, and I have chosen food, fortunately or unfortunately. So there's a lot of mind stuff that goes on with that, because obviously the foods that have dopamine are not bloody lettuce and tomatoes. And
Yeah.
so there is a lot of, head stuff that I've got to work through about that. It's not lack of self-control. It's the dopamine, and it's the impulsivity, and it's the poor executive functioning skills that you can't, put together a meal adequately in the right time frame because you don't know you're hungry till you're hungry. And so the shame that can come from that. But I think too, the connection, therefore, between understanding yourself and fostering the self-compassion is about embracing the neurodiversity, cultivating that self-compassion, and celebrating the individual that you are, and focusing on the strengths. So whilst, yes, one of my weaknesses is my dopamine seeking through food, but one of my strengths is also that when I'm hyper focused on something, I am like a train. So when I'm hyper focusing on, say, exercise, it just like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing in terms of the dopamine seeking food, because I'm having success over here, which is actually counteracting what I'm doing as well. And it's
Yeah.
also me accepting that I need this for the dopamine, but I need this because that's a strength. It's healthy. It's good for me. And one of my traits is hyper focusing. So you just double down on when you're good, the things you're good at, and you outsource the weakness stuff, and understanding why you are making those choices is important. You're not just making them, like, it comes with anything that you try, any new habit that you're trying to instill. Which is so hard for people with ADHD because they're ADHD. But being able to continue with habits is such a important thing for growth, but also it's so challenging for ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And I was just thinking about the example around outsourcing things that are just, no matter how you try and set yourself up to win, it feels like it's the impossible mountain to climb. And it is knowing those things that aren't great. And the example that I'm going to give you is me. And I totally get the whole, meal preparation. And when I'm hungry, just do it now. So for years, Alison, when my children were at school, we did HelloFresh. I did not have to think about what we were eating. Because again, back to maybe that executive function bit, that when we're hungry now because I haven't eaten all day. Then all of a sudden, oh God, I'm hungry now because I've been, which happens quite regularly. And I used to think it was funny when people say, oh yeah, I forgot to eat, because I never thought I was that person. But then when you realize you're ravenous and you're trying to look for dopamine hit, and then you realize, oh yeah, because maybe I haven't eaten. And funnily enough, before we got on this podcast, it was 1:30, and you messaged me and said, I'm just having breakfast. So
I was just maybe going to mention that. And that's because I had been so hyper focused on this other stuff that it's not, see, I didn't forget to eat this morning. It was that there were just other things that were just more important.
yeah, but just that's the way the brain works.
Yeah.
And I feel HelloFresh was my savior, and letting go of the fact that this is what we do. We just do HelloFresh 3 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sunny cooked on a Monday night. I did a Tuesday ribby. They had to get the packet out, and HelloFresh taught them how to cook. But for me, that was a strategy in place that helped me not feel like a failure as a parent.
Oh, and you
Yeah,
know what? There are so many of those opportunities as a neurodiverse parent.
yeah,
The opportunities to feel like a failure come thick and fast.
yes,
And being able to just go, you know what? They're eating good food
yeah,
and they're fed,
Yeah.
and it's teaching them how to cook.
Yeah.
And it's not my strong set. And if I have failed as a mother because I haven't taught them that,
Yeah.
that's sad, because there is so much more to motherhood that needs to be embraced.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm all for the outsourcing the areas that you know you need some support in. And for me, for my family, it was the meal stuff going, and oh, no, I couldn't have a private chef, but gee, HelloFresh was the next best thing where everything was prepared for us. I was never missing an ingredient. I was never having to even think about what we had to eat. And I feel like that's the kind of things, if we think about this self-care, also back to nutrition, if we think about a nice balanced meal and nourishing the family, perfect. So I'm all for a good outsource.
And that is too a form of self-care, like you said. Like
Yes.
you were talking about finding the micro moments of self-care,
Yeah.
that is one right
That's
there,
yeah.
because you are taking care of yourself by not having to think about the what are we going to eat saga. You're taking care of, you don't then go to the shop and impulse buy 15 buckets of ice cream, and and the kids go, oh, well, that's for dinner. So there's no
Yeah.
like whinging and carrying on at dinner time because mum just pressed the order button and this is what arrived.
Yeah.
So there are like multiple moments of self-care in that example alone.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's the self-awareness to know, where do I need some help with this? And whether it be, no matter what, as a mum, no matter what part of, whether it's feeding their kids or moving your own body, if you need to book a class or have someone personally come to your house to help you move,
Yeah.
whatever it might be, to for you to feel confident in your own body. And everyone knows I am not about weight loss at all. I'm not about diets at all. I'll never talk about that, but I am about self-respect.
Mm.
And I feel that's when we really look at, if we are neurodiverse, thinking about how can I respect myself? Because it's easy to get fixated, like you say, on the one thing and do it really, really well. But then the rest of things crumble around down you, because that hyper focus can happen. But it's about having that beautiful, well, if you can have that beautiful balance in your life, whatever your balance is, though,
Mm.
whatever
Yeah.
yours is for your
Yeah.
family.
I was talking to a lady last week and she said that she feels like a failure because she can't establish a morning routine. And when we dug deeper, it was like, well, why is a morning routine important to you? And she said, well, because everybody says that it sets you up for the day and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, talk me through your morning. And as we were talking through it, she worked out herself that she actually does have a morning routine. It's just not the, sit outside in the park with your tea for 15 minutes. It's more for her, it's like, get straight out of bed. Don't sit up and, kind of languish and whatever. And she said, and then I go and I have a coffee. And I might make the peacefulness in that was actually making the coffee, because she was standing there making the coffee. So it
Yeah.
wasn't actually in the let's go and sit in the park and drink it. That wasn't the mindfulness and the routine bit. It was just the actual activity of standing there making the coffee. So I think also reframing what these things look like or want to look like for yourself,
Yeah.
because they don't
Your
have to be what you see on social media.
Oh, and isn't that a crock? I mean, that's not even we're only seeing people's highlights there, aren't we?
Yep.
And yeah, it's your balance. Yeah, that's a great. So that kind of leads us to the practical strategies. The next question I've got for you is the practical strategies that you have for reducing stress and overwhelm, so women can feel more present and connected and at home in their own bodies. So when you think about women being at home in their own bodies, have you got any great strategies for reducing stress and overwhelm, Alison?
Yes. Yeah, look after your future self, but not at the expense of your current self. So
Mm.
if you can be constantly looking after future self that you actually forget about current self, getting everything prepared and ready and for the kids and for the husband and for the house, that you actually forget that you need looking after in that moment too. Look out for signs of burnout. So repeated stress, chronic stress that you can't escape from, and reaching out. So when you are stressed, you're reaching out then, you're not waiting till you're burnt out, and removing any judgment about that too, because, and I've said a million times that, like, you've never parented your kids today. So if you are feeling stressed about something, then there's someone else in the world who has as well, is as well. So don't feel like, you know, like, don't sit in that, like, that visceral feeling of stress. Don't sit in it. In terms of, yeah, like we said, the micro moments of looking after yourself, and don't beat yourself up, because tomorrow's another day, and you're not going to parent perfectly every day, and that's okay. Like, your kids have survived. They've learned how to cook via HelloFresh. They're fine, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, doing a lot of reframing, and also I think absolutely yoga, stretching, even just in terms of the thing that I like about yoga is that it gives you a certain portion of time to focus on every cell of your body. And because you're doing yoga, you are concentrating on the yoga poses. You're not concentrating on the lunch boxes you've got to make, or the dinner that's not bought for tonight, and all of those things. So it allows you that moment, that brief moment in time of mindfulness. And the other thing that I would suggest is mindful breathing. And I taught my kids, you know, my own version of it, from when they were like 3. Said, because your breath is always with you, and it is such a powerful tool to help you return to the present and to calm your nervous system. And I think it's underrated, and in terms of, you don't have to go and do a whole breathworks class and learn this and learn that. Just tuning into your own breath and working out, when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, how does that feel? And what happens to you when you focus on your breath? What happens viscerally to you when you focus on that? And that's important, because then once you can tap into that wherever you are.
That's a great example of building a better relationship with your body. Absolutely that, like that breath work, because let's say, you know, some people, you and I love yoga and you love Pilates. I know that. And some people go, oh God, the thought of yoga. But breath, like you say, is available to, well, let's hope it's available to all of us.
Yeah,
We've got a problem if it's not. So
that's
yeah,
right.
saying that breath is definitely, and it doesn't have to be, this is, I think, the often the one of the barriers, or maybe one of the, we put it off, is because we think, I don't have time. Things always boil down to things. I don't have time and I don't have money. It costs you nothing to actually
Yep.
focus on 3 breaths, and you do have the time.
Yep.
You actually do have the time. I also like the point that you made, Alison, which is, you know, there is a lot of talk about your future self, but not at the cost of your present self. I love that, because I'd never heard of it in that way. And that's what a lot of us do, this striving in this present moment to, you know, for your future self. But sometimes it is that burnout right here, right now, trying to live to a standard or run at a pace that is just not conducive to anyone. You just turn out to be an absolute nutbag, and burnout's real.
Yep, nutbag. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You can spend all that time, you know, at night getting your clothes ready and preparing, you know, your lunchbox for the next day and all of these things.
Mm.
But then you're totally shagged by the end of the night. You're too exhausted the next day because you've been so organized and getting yourself ready that you've actually worn yourself out.
Yeah. And the mindset shift too, knowing that you got to do it all again anyway. Like it's never
It's never
ending.
ending.
Yes, it's never ending. So, Alison, before we finish up, if you were to, if any women that have either been diagnosed with any neurodiversity or they suspect that they may have some traits, and particularly in relation to their body, their relationship with their body, and dopamine playing a part in this, you've shared that breath work is a great way to return them back to the present moment. Is there anything else you'd say to women who potentially are struggling with their body image and neurodiversity potentially could be a trait that's playing out in that? Is there any words of wisdom that you could share with our ladies that suspect this, and how can we support them, or how can you support them? What would you say to them?
I would say that such a good question. I would say that your body and whatever you have done to it has served you. There has been a reason why you have done it. And don't hate on it, because whatever you were doing was getting you through that moment of your life. So don't hate it. Love it for what it is. And if you want to work on it at some other point, that's fine. But just don't hate on yourself, and just, it served a purpose. So that's all we can ask for. Your body was just doing what it needs to do, so to get you through to this next day, to this next stage of life, to this next year, whatever it is. And you only know what you know till you know differently as well. And I think that was one of the beautiful things about yoga and Pilates for me, was that when I started it, and when you drop into that feeling that you get from that class, you then have such a different connection to your body, because it's so powerful.
Oh, that's beautiful, Alison. I agree. And I love that little pearl of wisdom. You've done what you've done to get you to this point. Don't hate on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, and now if you want to work on it, go for it. But even just taking all that pressure out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Take the
Well,
pressure off. You're doing your best.
yeah. And you're doing great.
And you're doing great.
Yeah. Yeah. We forget that though, don't we? Gosh, we are always, and before we hit record, I mean, you and I just had a big conversation about this. We are, yeah, the worthy piece is such a lifelong exploration, layers of not feeling worthy for whatever reason we
Yeah.
have told ourselves that story or reinforced it and validated ourselves in a really negative way. It's
And I think if you think, like, that can go, as we discussed before, can go right back to your childhood.
yeah,
And you could be, this blows my mind, but you could be forming this belief about some offhanded comment that some person that never knew you as a person said, and you've taken that
yeah,
for the rest of
literally.
your life till this point. Like, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's and I think about it with my own children. Like, if they come back to me and say something, and I'm like, baby, you can do whatever you want to do, and you can be whoever you want to be, no matter what anybody says.
Yeah. It's reinforcing that.
Yes.
Yeah. Alison, my darling,
How
thank
many
you.
tangents could we have gone down there?
Oh, so many, so many. But I want to say thank you, dear friend. You're always
Thank
got
you.
so many beautiful little parenting tips, and just I know that you know, like all of us, you've had a journey with your own body. We've all got a relationship with our body, and I appreciate your wisdom. Now I do want to ask you to share with everybody, where can we find you and what have you got on offer at the moment? I know that of course we've mentioned the Village, which is your membership for parents who want some support in the Village, but I know also, actually I do want you to share about your beautiful little course
Yeah.
about losing a pet, because I think that is just gorgeous. And yeah, it's going to happen to all of us who have got a furry. loved one. Can you share with that? Because I think that's incredibly powerful, that, and your work in that, I know it lit you up even as hard as it was.
Yeah, yeah. So I have the village, which is my community membership in terms of like contact with me, and we meet monthly. I do resources every month as well. And we also have the Oasis, which is my course component. So I've split them up because sometimes people just want knowledge, they don't want other humans. So there's those two memberships, and there's also some standalone courses. One of them is called Pause and Reflect, which I wrote for my neurodiverse families who have children or don't have children, about losing a pet and going through pet grief and what that looks like and sounds like for my neurodiverse family, and that may resonate with you as well. So you can find me at theincrementalshift.com, and you can find me on Instagram at theincrementalshift. Thank you so much, Emma, for
Thank
everything.
you, Alison. I love our chats as always. Thank you, dear friend. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.